Why do you think your message is being received so powerfully?
Because people are injured. They're scared. They don't know what to believe. They don't know where the light is, and darkness is all around. So people are just frightened. Young people are frightened. The teenagers don't know what to do. Where do we go with this life? They're looking for life guidance and somebody who can help them find the light and direct it. So that's what my mission is, really, is to carry a torch for those whose torches are kind of dim and they need more light.
What do you think we're getting stuck with when we're trying to embrace living medicine?
Because we really don't understand our own power. See, I have this kind of idea that when God created this earth, whoever God is to whoever you are, he created the earth and it was beautiful and everything was in place and the way it should be. But then he created the human being and he said to us, now you are the only creatures on this whole place that have the right to choose and have free will. So therefore, I give you dominion over the earth. And we, being who we were, decided that what he meant by dominion was dominance. And so we've taken over the earth and done what we darn well choose with it, and look where we are. So it's that reality that within us as human beings, I think that like E.T. who was reaching for home, I think that in the inner part of us, we're all reaching for our true humanity. And that true humanity understands that we are the ones who do the healing. The healing has to start with it. It doesn't matter anything if I can explain to a patient and they're thinking about something else, they're not listening and they're not taking in anything, and they won't do what I'm asking them, or what they begin to understand what I'm asking them, or whatever. If they don't do what they need to do as part of their healing process, they'll just shuck it off. See, I've come up with what I call 5 L's. The first one is life and love. Without life, there's nothing, You can be a seed in the Great Pyramid for 5,000 years and nothing happens until love, which is light and water and so on, softens the shell and the light, and the seed opens up and it grows. Life and love are one unit. They work together. It's like a pregnancy. When a mother is pregnant, she and that baby are one unit. What she eats, the baby eats. What she thinks, the baby thinks. It's a constant process. But that aspect of reality that is that baby that is being nurtured and grown within the womb doesn't really find its own identity until it takes its first breath. And then it becomes who it is. It takes the reason why it's coming into this earth. So it's this reality that life and love are one unit, and that as we work with each other that way, we can really understand aspects of ourselves, but aspects of the world around us, and aspects of other people too.
It's really interesting. I've heard you describe that you believe that everybody has a special purpose on Earth. And I think that a lot of people know that, but they've buried it, or they feel like they're disconnected from their special purpose. How would somebody find that? Like, obviously you did. How would somebody else tap into that purpose within themselves?
Well, you'll never find it if you don't start looking for it. When you start looking for your purpose, it's like that jigsaw puzzle idea. When you start looking for that particular puzzle piece and you find it, you know it. It's that kind of an inner knowing. When something, maybe it's a song, maybe it's something that some part of your family is doing. Maybe it's something that somebody says that makes you think, yes. When you can affirm that inner, it's sort of like a gong, it rings, and oh, yes, I get that. Look for it. If you find it, then follow it, because it's your message for your soul to tell to the world, and the world needs it.
What advice do you have for people who are about 20 years old right now?
Try to find joy and happiness. Find something that makes you laugh. Really laugh. Not something mean, but something that really makes you feel like, oh, that's really, really funny. And look for that kind of reality in your lives. And then spend time looking for what I call the light. I kind of see myself walking along with a flashlight in the dark on my path, and it's dark, and I can just go as far as my flashlight takes me. But as I'm walking along, sometimes on the side of the path, there's a light that is not very bright. It's just kind of shimmering. If I shine my light over there, all of a sudden that light becomes great. In other words, as we reach out for each other, as we're walking along and we see someone else who's struggling, and we reach over just with whatever we have, my mother's make do, whatever there is there, whatever the opportunity is, and you use it, and you work forward with it. You're helping people in ways that you know not.
I hope 20-year-olds can hear that. I hope a lot of others can hear that too. I think that's really powerful. I heard a quote of yours once that absolutely stopped me in my tracks, and it says, "Fear is one of the major reasons we stop moving as a response to pain. We don't want to hurt anymore." And I think about that because I feel like there are a lot of people who don't want to hurt anymore. How would they start moving again?
If you can look at the hurt in any way that allows us, when I say you, I'm talking about us as physicians. If you can look at any way in which that hurt doesn't, it's like taking a bad tasting medicine. If you can get the understanding that this is not here to hurt you, but the doctor is reaching to you with love because they need to help you. So if the loving act is done, it's done with a loving light, and the patient can accept it that way.
Feels like you exude love and light, and I feel like that must be one of your gifts that's been around for a long time. But I've also heard that there's been moments in your life when you've been in the darkness, that you've been in a tough spot, and even a particular time in your 70s. Are you willing to share any part of that period of your life with us?
Sure, we all have our dark places. I'm repeating 2 years in grade school where I was the class dummy was one of the really dark places. The teacher called me the dumb one, and the others, but that was I could go home, and my home situation really allowed me to put this in some kind of context where I wasn't dealing with it. But the thing that really broke me apart was Bill and I had been married for 46 years. We'd created the American Holistic Medical Association. We'd written books together. We'd raised 6 children together. I thought life was the way it was supposed to be. And then one day, he asked me for a divorce. I absolutely, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't understand it. I didn't know what he was saying. And I remember the moment when it hit me so hard. I was coming home from work. Since when he left, I was practicing with my youngest daughter, who's still working as a physician here. And I was on my way home, riding down I-10 in the car and screaming and yelling and I was awful. I mean, it was terrible. You don't want to even think about how terrible that was, because it was just the worst thing that I could think of. I was saying and repeating it. It was just terrible. And at the top of my voice. And finally, I pulled over to the side of the road, and I got out of the car. And I'm standing there looking at my car with the door open, and I'm thinking to myself, "Ooh, that's horrible. What you were doing in the car is just terrible." And I thought, am I going to spend the rest of my life like this? This is what it's done to me, and this is who I am? And so I'm carrying on this discussion with myself. And the wonderful quote came down into my head. "This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it." There was my name, and right in front, right there, I was to be glad. And my license plate from that day on read, "Be glad," because every time I went out to my car, I had to see that. And everybody that ever got in line with me in the traffic in Phoenix for the next 60 years saw that, "Be glad." So it was something that I was affirming to myself, yes, but to the world around me. So it took the whole ugly, nasty, dark, horrible place and just put it on. It wasn't important anymore. The car door was open, windows were, I was finished with that. But what I could do was to take a deep breath and be glad.
Your message has reached millions of people. And what's fascinating, Dr. Gladys, is that we typically reach 20-year-olds. And through this interview, we reached 60-year-olds, 70-year-olds, 80-year-olds who are tuning into technology to hear this message. And I think so many of them are potentially in that moment where it feels like their life force, their life movement, their life purpose has been slowed down by something, whether it be age or it be an event that's so significant. And I wonder about what helps them pick up speed again. And I think that story and just your ability to change perspective and to choose perspective and what that's meant for you. What would you offer as advice for those who are in that stage of life?
Yeah, look at your life, not critically, but just look at it, see what you're doing, and see if it's really something that you really want to keep on choosing to do. And maybe it is. Maybe it's exactly the right thing. Maybe you're just in a different department, or maybe it's a different aspect of looking at what you're doing. No one else can tell you. But look at where you are and ask in a dream, if you want to do it that way. I find a lot of help in the dreams. But ask yourself, Ask people that you trust. If you have a good girlfriend, talk it over with her. If you have a good friend, if you have a physician that you want to talk it over. Pull it out of the drawer and look at your life and see if it's really where you want to be going, not where you are, and is it if it's where you want to continue to be. And if it's where you want to continue to be, then find out a way to make it so that what it will make you rejoice and be happy in it. Because if you can find the part of the work that you're doing, the life that you're doing, that makes you happy, latch on to it and let that grow. But if there's nothing there, but you see something that you start reaching around and looking for what's there, what's available, and you'll find it, but you'll never find the light unless you start looking for it.
I've heard that you have a mantra, and I'm curious about this, that never give up. How have you used that mantra in your life?
Well, it started with my dad, and I remember being probably 9 years old, and I was doing something, and I said, "Oh, I give up." And he looks at me and he says, "Are you a quitter?" And I thought, "Oh man, that's like being a liar." No, I'm not a quitter. And if I, look back, there's statements. It's so important for us to understand what we teach our children. And these are things that were really brought to me so that I could understand the kind of life that I was going to actually live. And so, yeah, I had to make do. I had to let go. I had to. My mother taught me how to not take things in and say that was horrible. I hurt my feelings, and I could just let it go and say "Kuch Balwane," it doesn't matter. The things that you accept and really understand to be the kind of the core. I'm about 15, 20 years ago, I came up with for myself, a kind of a structure for philosophy that I was building and all. The first L was life and love. And those two came together, and I understood those. But the third one was laughter. Laughter without love is cruel. It's mean. It takes families apart. It has caused wars, Laughter can be cruel, but laughter with love is joy and happiness. And the fourth L is labor. Labor without love is drudgery. It's you just gotta go to work. You just gotta do this. Too many diapers. Just but labor with love is bliss. It's why we singers sing. Why painters paint. It's why I do what I do. It's why you do what you do. It's what makes our hearts sing. It's that inner aspect of our being that comes alive, and we'll work 5 times as hard as we were when we were dragging ourselves along with the drudgery thing. And the fifth one is listening. Listening without love is empty sound. It just doesn't make any sense. You don't understand. But listening with love is understanding. So these 5 loves, these 5 L's have been very helpful for me in structuring and understanding the philosophy and the life that I'm working with.
When you mentioned that at the center of holistic medicine or living medicine is love, and you describe these 5 L's, living, love, laughter, labor, and listening, and you kept relating it back to love. It really does feel like at the center of this philosophy is love.
Yes, it really is. because life and love are one unit.
You're 103 years old, and we're having a conversation where you're drawing back on memories from 80, 90 years ago. Has love been your secret?
Yes, absolutely. Because my mother was the epitome of love. My mother was an osteopath, a physician. She went to India. They went to the villages of North India, and she treated the lowly of the lowliest, that with loving care. I watched that. I loved watching as she worked. She was really the patience. She would take a baby in her arms, and one time she did that, and the baby had smallpox. Well, she got smallpox, and she almost died. But it was her ability to understand that these people who were coming from the villages, who were the sick people, they weren't just sick. They needed love, they needed caring, and she was there to do it. And I watched that. I watched her treat an elephant. I watched her take care of anybody or any living thing that was needing help, and do it with love and understanding. She didn't ask them if they understood what she was saying necessarily. She might have. But basically, she reached out to these people. She knew the language, of course. She spoke their language. But the people reached to her for a place that was bringing light and love into their lives. And they crowded around her. My dad, too. But, you grow up in an environment like that, and it's a blessing. It truly is. And if we can take it and then give our children the same message, then we're carrying it on.
When you think about the future, what's your greatest hope for the world?
With our technology, the fact that we can do something like you and I are doing right now, think of the people who would never be able to think of these things, the things that we're reaching out to people all around the world. This couldn't happen. I mean, this is an absolute impossibility, but it's happening. And so our technology has evolved to the point where I didn't even know what a telephone was when I was a kid, they weren't such things. But look at what we have now. And who knows what's going to, I can't even begin to put my mind around what the future is going to hold. But I know that if you're looking for the future evolving in the light, and our part in that being part of shining the light and love, that it's going to be something that's awesome. Because life has to grow, life has to move. It has to be part of the whole loving process, has to be part of it. And when that happens, amazing things happen.